This is Holly Uso with the math lesson.
Hi Super Class, let's continue with harder factoring. Here we are factoring quadratic expressions where the leading coefficient is not 1. So we are using the guess and test method. We have 5x squared plus 2x minus 3, and we want to write that as a product of two other polynomial expressions. So what are the factors of 5? They are 1 and 5. Since 5 is a prime number, those are the only ones. What are the factors of 3? They are 1 and 3. Again, since 3 is a prime number, those are the only ones. Now, let's come up with our guesses. We don't know that all of these are going to work, but we're going to guess them, and then we'll check them out with the FOIL method and pick the one that works. So these will be all of our guesses. Remember, when we guess, we start out by splitting the variable so that x squared becomes x and x. If there were a y squared, we'd put a y and a y here. Sometimes that happens. You might have 5x squared plus 2xy minus 3y squared. Then we put a y and a y here. So if you have more than one variable that's squared, be sure and split each one of those up. Now, each of our guesses is going to follow this format. So I'm going to write a few more of them. All right. Let's try with the 5. We're going to do 1 and 5, 5 and 1. 1 and 5, 5 and 1. Now, 1 and 3 need to be put in both orders. So here's the one that starts with 1. So I'm going to put in 1 and 3 here. Here's the other factor pair that starts with 1. And here I'm going to put that in the other order. Can you see that these are both of the options? If you have 1x, either it goes with the 1 or the 3. And then the 5x goes with either the 3 or the 1. Now let's look at the one with the 5x. We used 1 and 3 here, so let's use 1 and 3 again. Here's the second one with the 5x. So we had 5x and 1 here. We're going to put the 3 here and the 1 there. Notice that once you've done this a couple of times, you could simply put in 1, 3, 1, 3, and then switch it into 3, 1, 3, 1, and that gets all the possibilities. Now, we're going to put in the signs last. How do we know which signs to use? Since this sign here is negative, we know that then our signs will be different. That is because if we had minus 1 and minus 3, we multiply them together, we get plus 3, and that wouldn't match our original, right? Or if we had plus 1 and plus 3, and then that would multiply to give plus 3, and that wouldn't match our original. The only way to match our original is to have minus and plus, or plus and minus, so the signs must be different. Note, if this sign were positive, then the signs would match. So you'd either have minus and minus or plus and plus. And it's pretty obvious when that's the case. If all the signs are positive, then all the signs down here are positive. If this sign is positive but this is negative, then all our signs in our guesses should be negative. So let's put in our signs. So we put in minus and plus and minus. Notice that this is 5x plus 1, and that's different from this. This is x minus 3, and that's different from that. Now we have to be careful to make sure we don't just repeat ourselves. If we put in minus and plus here, we're just going to get the same thing we had here. But look what happens if we just put in plus and minus. Now notice this one is different than this term, and different than this factor, and different than this factor. If we put in plus and minus, now this matches that, doesn't it? So let's switch these and put in minus here and plus there. And now this one and this one are different. So when we put in our signs, we have to be careful that we don't just repeat the same guess over again. All right, let's multiply out. All right, these are just guesses. They might not all work. In fact, they're not all going to work. Let's hope we find one that does. All right, 1x times 5x is 5x squared. 1x times 3 is plus 3x. Minus 1 times 5x is minus 5x. And minus 1 times 3 is minus 3. Now this is interesting. We got minus 2x here. That's pretty close to this, isn't it? So if we're guessing intelligently, one thing we could do at this point is say, I'm going to have a new guess. I'm going to guess that same thing as before, but I'm going to switch around my signs. So in this factor, we had a negative sign. I'm going to make that a plus. And in this factor, I had a plus sign. I'm going to make that a negative. Now let's check out our new guess. This gives me 5x squared. Well, that looks good. Minus 3x plus 5x minus 3. And if we simplify that, we get 5x squared plus 2x minus 3. That's exactly what we want. Notice that it matches number, variable, power, sign, number, variable, sign, number. Every single thing. Thus, this checks, and this is our answer. Wait a minute, this is a guess and test method. I thought we were going to have to try all the guesses. Nope, we just try them until we find one that works. That's the one that works. For example, let's see how this would be different if there were a second variable. If there were a second variable, then we would have a y here, and a y squared here. Then in each of our guesses, we would add a y on the right side. And in our answer, we would add a y here. So instead of getting the answer, our old answer was, we change the 1 to a y, and we include a y here, and that gives us the new answer. So if you see a problem that has more than one variable, don't be scared. You're just going to split the y squared the same way we would have split the x squared. All right, let's